students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here, the capital city of Hungary, in the heart of Europe. I hope everybody is having a fantastic weekend, staying healthy, staying positive, and strong. This live lesson is a question and answer session to get those high band scores, even that perfect band 9. It is a members chat class. This is a special chat class that we offer to our members once every 2 weeks, where members can ask us questions about the IELTS, the English language, so that they can get more clarity. Welcome, Jainil. There's one of our members joining in now, and definitely I'm sure there will be some more in the next minute or so. While our members are joining up, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Definitely check us out there. The URL will be up here throughout the class. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, you can find lots and lots of answers to questions for the IELTS exam. Welcome, Moni. This is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. And for the general IELTS, it's the green background. Again, you can click that big red button to join the premium package there. On either website, use the code R4TYJ and you'll get a 20% discount. Welcome, Rahul Preet. Hi, Nancy. Good to see many of our students joining up. So again, on the websites, you can find a lot of answers. By the way, for those of you that have access to our websites, I'll show you a couple of places where you can find a lot of answers to questions. Okay, hopefully members, you're using the website. So at the bottom here, there's this help button. You can always click that. And at certain times in the day, you can also chat with a live agent to help you, okay? And also when you're in your My Student account, okay, so in the website, so you create a student account. You can do that also by clicking the green button, okay? There's some recorders screen on the main screen, sir. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Thank you, Rahul Preet. Yeah, there's a little bit of bleed from one of our things. I'll fix that here in just 2 seconds, okay? All right. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. All right, now it should be gone, okay? All right, there you go. Okay, cool. Thank you. So anyway, so the help button's always there, okay? And then at the top right, there's a contact us button. When you click that, you can go to a knowledge base. And there's also a forum where you can find a lot of answers. You can ask us questions. And we even have a blog, and we're always adding new information with examples like IELTS Speaking Part 2, Band 9 strategies. There's vocabulary, writing task 1. So lots and lots of help there for you, okay? So make sure you check that out. That's also, of course, in the general IELTS version of our website as well when you log in. Members, just a quick question. Have you had a chance to peruse through the website? So have you checked out the blog, the forum, the knowledge base by clicking the Contact Us button? If you haven't, it's okay. I'm just curious who is actually using those resources. So I just brightened up our day here a little bit. Nancy, have you checked that out? Moni, Janil, have you checked out those parts of the website? There's lots and lots of information to practice with there, including vocabulary, grammar lessons, and even in the free versions of our course. So anybody using that? And of course, you can always send us an email too, right? So hopefully you are. All right, and I'm not sure if anybody saw, I was moving quite quickly, but we are a British Council IELTS registration center for Saudi Arabia, and we have certified British Council agents working in our team. So, okay. Nikhil says, yes, I have. Good, Nikhil. How did you find it, Nikhil? Did you find it useful? Or did you think it was maybe lacking some information or needed something? We're always open to feedback, of course. So let us know. If anybody has questions, Adrian at aehelp.com, you can just send me an email as well. Janeel, good. I'm happy you're using it also. Download our apps. So, of course, we have mobile apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. You can link the app to the website, and you can get it on Google Play or Apple, of course. Good, Nikhil. I'm happy that you're finding that useful. Great. Okay, fantastic. So today, students, this question and answer session, so get your questions ready, members. I will be asking you for those questions in just a moment. And then after this question and answer session in 90 minutes, we will have a speaking part 3 practice session for everybody, where everybody can join the chat. Hi, Lubna. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, no class. That's usual for our schedule. And then from the 13th all the way to the 16th, we have lots more live classes coming up. These times are according to Central European Time. That's UTC plus 2, okay, 2 hours from Universal Standard Time. So mostly the classes are from 13:30 and from 15 o'clock Central European Time, okay? All right, so let's get into our Q&A session. First come, first serve. So I'll take questions in the order that I get them in the chat. If you have a question, let me know. I'll try to get to at least, a dozen or so questions throughout the class. If some of the questions are related, then I might be out of order just to answer them, okay? All right, so ask me any questions. Janeel says, I know mostly English grammar, but when I speak and write something, I can't properly apply it in essays, cue cards, and I get stuck. Janeel, fair enough. Yeah, so what's the question, Janeel? What's the question? Okay, so I get the statement. Ask me the question. Okay, I can assume the question, but ask me what the question is there rather than the statement. Okay? And I'll explain to you what you need to do. So change your statement, Janeel, into a question for me. Okay? I'll write it up on my end here and we'll see if it matches. Okay? Okay, so a good practice, students, is asking good questions. Okay, so Janeel, one tip that I can give you right away for improving your grammar is work on asking the right questions, and then you will get into producing better grammar. So your question here, Janeel, is how can I become more proficient at using grammar that I know in my speaking and writing? So it means how can you be more fluent and how can you adapt it more? Okay. All right, Janeel. Firstly, my answer is always know the reason to use a certain type of grammar. Okay. For example, present perfect is used to emphasize a lasting experience. Okay. Use grammar with purpose and give extra effort in your studies to apply grammar. This means review your essays and make grammar improvements several times. Okay, so what I'm saying here, Janeel, with your grammar is know the reason. Every grammar structure in any language, including English, has a specific reason to use that grammar. So we don't just accidentally use present perfect in a certain context, but we use it on purpose, right? So for example, if I visit France and I love the country, I love the people, I have a really enjoyable experience, when I go back to my country and I tell my friends about this experience, I will use the present perfect because I want to emphasize the impact of this experience. So I will say, I have visited France and I loved it. Okay? So I'm using present perfect because to an English speaker who's a native English speaker or who speaks at a high level of English, they will feel that because of that present perfect, I'm emphasizing my experience visiting France and my enjoyment of it. Okay? If I didn't really like my visit to France, if I was only in France for maybe 1 or 2 days, I didn't really get to do much, then when somebody asks, have you been to Europe or did you go to Europe at any point in time, maybe I would just say, yes, I was in France for a couple of days. So I will just use the simple past. And in this case, the listener can feel that I am not emphasizing and I'm not pursuing this conversation. So when you're using grammar, you have to pay attention to using the grammar that fits best for that context. And of course, one way that you can really catch this and work on this is through your writing. So when you write an essay, you want to go back and spend 2-3 times as much time reviewing and revising your essay than initially writing it. Okay, and I think that's what a lot of students miss in their studies at home. So let me just explain to you what I mean by this. So if it takes you 40 minutes to write your task to practice essay at home, you should spend another 2 to 3 hours at some point, maybe the next day, to review and revise and upgrade your essay, both grammatically and with vocabulary. Okay? How many of you do this? And so this is a very important tip for your question, Janil. So how many of you actually take your old essays, your old practice essays that you do for task 2, you look at them maybe later on the same day or maybe the next day or maybe the next week, and you spend 1 to 2 hours reviewing that essay and thinking about how can this be better grammatically? How can I make this more advanced with grammar? And make sure that you are using grammar that's going to be accurate and vocabulary. So don't just use a dictionary, okay? I've seen it where students, they take a dictionary and then they find a really complicated word to replace the words that they're using, and they actually end up with an even worse essay. So don't do that, okay? That's not good practice. You should only use words that you know, okay? Rahul Preet, Moni, Nancy, do you do this with your task 2 essays? Do you review them, revise them, and improve the grammar? Don't do too much at once, okay? So that's also not good. Don't do too much at once. Just focus for the first draft on just grammar. And then after you're satisfied with the grammar, focus on a little bit of vocabulary, okay? But don't do it all at the same time. So separate it into stages. It's a really, really good way to practice. Okay. Janil says, after my first test, I do it. Does that mean, Janil, that after you did your first test, you realized that this is something you had to do? Yeah? Okay. So who else does this? Lubna, Devansh, Sunny. Do you do this? Okay. Let's have a little bit of dialogue back and forth. Who does this? So who spends 1 hour to 2 hours revising it. If you don't, just say, I don't do it. I just write essay after essay. It's fine. That's why we're here, to discuss this and to maybe improve on study habits as well. It's totally okay. All right. Okay, so Janil, those are my tips to you. Okay, so attention to grammar, actively using it. Okay. Also, make sure to revise your writing, and don't be shy, students, to go back and review grammar lessons in your books. Okay, that's another important step. Even for advanced English students, it's a good idea to go back and review the rules and structures of complex English grammar. So don't be shy. This is an important tip here. Don't be shy to go back and review and practice grammar lessons in grammar books every so often, even if you have an advanced level of English. Okay? All right? So that's something that, I think people kind of neglect after a while. They think, oh, I've got it all. I've learned all the different kinds of grammar. And then they just kind of never go back and practice it. Okay? Good. Nick Hill says, yes, I go back and try to make it more concise using advanced vocabulary. Very good, Nick Hill. And Nick Hill, when you do that, check the vocabulary. If you have the chance with a teacher or a professional, you can use the writing services on our websites. Just make sure that you're using that vocabulary correctly, because it looks really bad when students use some fancy vocabulary, but it's really awkward or out of context. So just learn to make sure that it's correct and accurate and natural in context. Okay? All right, Janil says, yes, I periodically read grammar rules. Good for you, Janil. Okay. All right, let's go to another question. So that was Janil. And then next person is Lubna. Lubna says, sir, my question is that I found the listening tests a bit hard on your website as compared to those of Cambridge series. Are those audio tests the same difficulty? Yeah, they are, Lubna. Yeah, absolutely. We've heard it from many students. They thought, oh, maybe these are more difficult. And then they go to the real exam and they go, oh, no, it's kind of the same. So Lubna's question is, are the audio materials the same difficulty on aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com as the official exam? That's your question, right, Lubna? Yeah, pretty much. Yes, very similar. We've tested it, and students agree that it's the same. I mean, I can get I can put this question out to the other members as well. So I know that Nick Hill and Janil use the website. I think Nancy uses the website as well. How do you find it? Do you find our listening materials more difficult, the same difficulty roughly, or easier than the official IELTS exam? So this is my question. Now, here's another interesting point, Lubna, is we would definitely rather make our listening section a bit more challenging than less challenging. The reason for that, Lubna, is there's actually a lot of IELTS materials online and also in some books. One book series that we found like this is Barron's books. This is just my personal opinion, but I found that the sample practice exams from Barron's and from Longman's that they produce tend to be easier significantly. Like I would say 20%, 25% easier than the official IELTS exam. And what happens, and we heard this from our students, is they use Barron's or they use Longman's study materials, and then they do the actual IELTS exam, and they're in shock. they get really surprised about how much more challenging the real IELTS is than their study materials. And we don't want our students to feel in shock. We would rather have our students go into the exam and go, whew, that was actually easier than what those guys were showing us. So thank you for that. The path to success in this sense is sometimes the harder materials. So, but I'd like to think it's the same. Okay, I'd like to think that it's the same. Yeah, so Nick Hill says, I think it's the same. Abhishek agrees. Abhishek, yeah, I think it would be the same. Janelle says, yeah, it's a bit difficult, but good materials. Yeah, so you'll find that you know, people will either say it's the same, and some people, Lubna might say it's a little bit more difficult, but again, it's better to have more difficult materials than less difficult materials. Okay, so be really careful. Did everybody catch that? That's an important point. So when you're looking for materials online, on YouTube, especially a lot of the free materials on websites out there, some of the older IELTS materials, IELTS has kind of gotten a little bit more challenging maybe in the past few years, from around Cambridge book 10, 11. So that's an important point. Be really careful with the practice materials that you use, because some students really do get into a shock when they get into the real IELTS exam. They walk in there and they go, whoa, what were those questions? So, and I know some students have had that situation. So be really careful. Okay, can I get a couple of thumbs up on that? Like, yeah, I get what you mean. Okay, so from the same or from more difficult is better than less difficult, because if it's less difficult, you're going to get surprised, and that's not a good feeling at all. Okay, all right. So it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. I suppose that's the concise way of saying it, right, Nick Hill? So it's better to be over-prepared with tough materials than under-prepared with easy materials. Okay, so I think that's kind of the thought that I want to leave you with there. Okay, all right, so everybody's got it. Okay, let's see, what's the next question? So Devansh says, how someone whose second language is English can score Band 8 overall in IELTS academic. Yeah, Devansh, in fact, there's actually a lot of students that will even score 9 who are second language speakers, okay? So here's Devansh says, how can an ESL, English as a second language, right, speaker score Band 8 or 9 on IELTS? Good question, okay? Devansh, here's the very important answer for you, okay? It's a very good question, Devansh, a very important answer. Band scores 7, 8, and 9 are much more about than just language, grammar, and vocabulary. And I've said this a few times, so I think some members will know what the missing word is. What's the missing word here, members? So band scores on the IELTS that are 7, 8, and 9 are much more about what than just language. What's the missing word? What word do you think I'm going to put in there? Give me this information, because this is really important to remember. A lot of people get really confused with IELTS. They think IELTS is about speaking like an native English speaker. It's not, okay? IELTS Band 7, 8, 9 is not about speaking or using English as a native English speaker. That doesn't actually mean much at all, okay? There's 4-year-olds that are native English speakers. There are 20-year-olds that are native English speakers. 60-year-olds. There are construction workers that are native English speakers. There are English literature professors that are native English speakers. So Honey says intelligence. I don't want to say intelligence, Honey. I don't think it's quite accurate. You're not completely off. Janelle says content. Yeah, content is okay. There's a better word, Jaineel. Don't take away those answers. Those are good thoughts, Jaineel. Content was not bad. It was quite close. Carolina says proficiency. Yeah, proficiency is right, Carolina, in some sense, because it's an English proficiency exam. So you're right, I guess, in some sense. Devansh says communication or being understood while communication. Yeah, it's communication. So communication, okay, is the missing word. In communication, okay, is a very interesting word. Now, as some of you may or may not know, my degree is in psychology, specifically focusing on developmental psychology and psychometrics, meaning measuring of human behaviors, such as language, okay? And for psychologists, the word communication means a lot more than simply just language, grammar, and vocabulary. So a person can have a lot of grammar and vocabulary and still be a poor communicator, okay? Or be a poor communicator in a certain context, all right? So communication means, let's say, band 9, okay? So let's just go right to the top. According to the IELTS band descriptors, band 9 is what's called an expert user of the English language. Okay? So when you're getting into this expert user, if you look at the band score descriptions, a lot of the band score descriptions will have quite a bit of description for task completion or coherence and accuracy, okay? So at this band, you will notice a very detailed description for task completion and coherence. And you will also notice that the emphasis, and this is where, Jaineel, I think your answer was quite accurate, is also notice that the emphasis, and Carolina as well, is on content and proficiency, which is accurate to the task given. Okay? So, in fact, Devansh, a lot of people who are native speakers will also take the IELTS exam. This is something that many students don't realize, but there are thousands of people every year who are native English speakers and take the IELTS exam for work, for immigration, and especially a lot of them for teaching positions. Okay? So they will take the IELTS exam, all right? In fact, I like taking it every now and then, and I'm going to take it in February this year, so next month, just to kind of feel the perspective of the students. So I'll share that experience with everyone once I do it, okay? All right, so that'll be something interesting for you to look forward to. I think maybe this year I'll do the computer-based exam. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, so native speakers do the IELTS exam also. Okay, it's an English proficiency exam. It's not an English as a second language exam. Okay, all right. So Carolina says communication. Okay, so again, to go back to your question, Devansh, a non-native speaker can get a band 8 or 9 on the IELTS by proving that they are very good communicators using the English language. Okay. Keep in mind that certain positions, like medical school, for example, jurisprudence, so law school, for example, there are certain schools in Canada, US, UK, which require people to have a band 8 on the IELTS in order to continue their studies there. So there are certain schools and certain jobs that will require band 8 or higher. Okay. So there are jobs and education programs, for example, legal and medical, for obvious reasons, right? And for a doctor or for a lawyer, you have to communicate very, very well. And it doesn't, pronunciation is not so important as long as people understand you. Okay? That require a band. There's actually ones that require band 8.5 or higher, but anyway, I'm going to say band 8 or higher for admittance. Okay? So, and many of these positions are filled by non-native English users. Okay? And we have some testimonials. I mean, you can go on our website too, Devansh, and check out some of the testimonials. You'll find some where people will say, I got a band 8.5 overall, thank you, and so on and so forth. Okay? All right, I haven't decided yet, Janelle. I think it's going to be somewhere in the mid-February. Okay, so I haven't really decided yet. I think I'll do it mid-February. But I'll definitely let everybody know about that and the experience. Okay, I've decided that that's kind of going to be something fun for us. All right, so let me take another question. Let's go back. Last one here was Devansh. Lubna says, also, can you suggest some good websites for practicing letters? Lubna, check us out at glshelp.com. There's some letters there. And outside of that, I'm not sure. We can maybe throw that out to everybody else. Anybody have some good websites for practicing letter writing? Send me an email too, Lubna. Maybe I'll investigate if there are some websites that are specifically good for looking at how to write letters. Okay. I know that there are books which are collections of letters written by certain individuals. You can find those online. Okay. All right. So Rahul Preet says, sir, I'm always writing awkward phrases or making awkward phrases or sentences despite knowing the content of what I want to write. Please help me with this. Rahul Preet, you have to get feedback. Okay? It's really the only way to improve quickly. And that's a very common mistake, Rahul Preet. So Rahul Preet is asking, I make a lot of awkward sentences even though I know the content. What can I do to fix this, right? Okay, really, Rahul, my answer here is you must get peer and professional feedback. Okay, you can't just, I mean, a lot of reading as well. Okay, also read lots in English, of course. Okay, that can help as well. But getting feedback is really, really important. Real-time correction, really, really important. Okay, use the editing services on our websites. Or find some language exchange partners online that you can work with, or some kind of skill exchange where you can teach someone a skill, perhaps a computer programming language or graphic design, and then they can teach you some English in return. For example, Carolina, that's something that you could try because I know you're very good in graphic design. So maybe you can find someone who you can teach some graphic design to, and in exchange, they will teach you a bit of English, okay? So there's a lot of kind of knowledge exchange opportunities these days. You just have to look around, but that's definitely a very good way to fix awkward sentences if you have them, okay? And you definitely want to fix that, Rahul Preet, okay? Because those will pull down your score, all right? Okay, so Nancy says, sir, I can't speak with fluency. So, sir, I can't speak fluently because I have no idea on the time. Maybe I don't have enough vocabulary. Vocabulary is important for fluency somewhat, Nancy. Also using the language and using what you know so that the words that you know come to your mind quickly, okay? So for fluency, practice is really key. I mean, it's just practice, practice, practice. Whether with a partner, okay, or even on your own, but just doing a lot of reading aloud, okay? So to improve fluency, do a lot of reading aloud, do recitation, okay? Basically learn a poem in English, Nancy, recite it, tell it to your friends, tell it to a class, create maybe a podcast where you're podcasting English poems or something that you're or music lyrics, okay? So do recitation, but very importantly, do a lot of practice, okay? You simply cannot get fluent without practice. It's just the simple truth, okay? Rahul Preet says, can you tell me when or where to use have, or has had? Yeah, so we don't really use has have, Rahul Preet. We use has had where you show possession in the present perfect. Okay? He has had a cough for the past 5 years. Okay? So this is present perfect, has, using had as the perfect or past participle verb of have, right? So has had. The cough, it means this person is suffering from this experience. Okay? So has had, has one as the auxiliary verb, and have second as the past participle. Does that make sense, Rahul Preet? So let me give you the example here. He has had a bad cough for the past 2 years. Okay? So in this case, this is the auxiliary verb for the present perfect, and this is the past participle, also known as the infinitive verb. Okay? So he has had a bad cough for the past 2 years. All right? That's when we use it. All right. B also has a few of those kind of interesting. He is being weird, right? So there's also a couple like that with the verb be. Okay. Let's see. Let's take a couple more. All right. Let's see who's next. Okay. Okay, so Yara Bisha says, which one do you recommend, paper-based or computer-based test? That's a very common question, Yara Bisha. Anybody know the answer to this? I've given the answer to this lots, so hopefully somebody remembers. Yara Bisha is asking, which test is better to take? Paper or computer-based test? The answer. What is it? So somebody should be able to help us out here. Which one is better to take, the paper-based or the computer-based test? I think, Carolina, you've asked me this. I'm not sure if you're still in the class here. So which one's, yeah, okay, so Abhishek says depends on the person, their comfortability. A little bit more detail, Abhishek, so you're right, but what does it depend on? So it depends on the person's ability to, it depends on one specific skill, okay? Yeah, so Honey says, in your words, typing speed is at least 40 words per minute, then computer, else paper. Yeah, and it's not just typing speed, Honey, that's right, but touch typing. It depends on the person's ability to type at a speed of 40 words per minute or more. Yeah. And by touch type, I mean not looking at your fingers, okay? If you're doing this, then do the paper-based exam, all right? If you're doing this, then do the computer-based exam. Let me show you a really cool piece of software that I love, and these guys do not sponsor us. They're completely free, and I love endorsing them every now and then when we have these Q&A classes, because I think it's an awesome piece of freeware, and it's completely free. Let me show you this. Let me darken this up. I actually have this, and I've used these guys to learn how to touch type really well. Does everybody see that? So this is a program called Rapid Typing Tutor. And you basically learn grammar and English and vocabulary and touch typing and so many great skills all at once here. So you just simply start, and then off you go. And read out loud. In your life has made a great difference. Period. Enter tab. Sit in silence and appreciate the silence around you. Period. Ask the universe to grant other that same great feeling of peace, security, and tranquility. Period. Enter space. Feed the ducks or birds at your local park. Period. We get. Okay. You get the idea. So this is called rapidtyping.com. Okay, I'll put it up here. Rapidtyping.com. You can add all kinds of languages. I think you have to add the UK English to get all the paragraph writing and everything, and it will give you all the statistics. It will let you know how fast you're typing, how many mistakes you're making. And it really start with the basics, okay? So start with home row, start with the basics. It has a really nice setup. These guys have been around since I was probably 10 years old or something. So they've been around a long time. This is Rapid Typing version 5.3, and it's completely free. And so I love kind of mentioning them because they have definitely given me a skill which has brought me a lot of positive in my life. So I highly, highly recommend going and using that. Okay, everybody catch that one? Okay. Yeah, it's called Rapid Typing. I'll put it here as well because I know it's a little bit tough to see there. So it's www.rapidtyping.com. Okay, completely free, 100% free, freeware. Okay, it's one of those beautiful things. No gimmicks, no advertisements, no weird cookies, at least not on my end. It's just one of those, an angel in the computer world decided to give humanity using the computer a beautiful piece of software, okay, for free. So simple, elegant, beautiful, and works like a charm. So if you get to this speed, computer-based exam for sure, okay? It's just easier to make corrections. It's clear, the writing. It's faster. So I would recommend computer-based as long as you can do that. If you can't, do the paper-based. Okay? All right? Okay, cool. And like I said, read aloud while you're typing once you get to that level. Okay? Start with letters, then words, then sentences, then paragraphs like what I just showed you, and entire stories, and read aloud. Read aloud, okay? All right. Good. Abhishek. Sir, apart from your reading materials, can you suggest something else? I tried Cambridge and British, which I find easy, but I had a word with my friend. They say in the real exam it's harder. Yeah, Abhishek, that's what I mean. So we were talking about this earlier. And yeah, unfortunately, we found that too, that even in the British Council, in the Cambridge example, sometimes you're getting examples that are easier than the real exam. And I don't know why they do that. It's a mystery to me. I don't think it's great. I think it's good to start, but I don't think it's a good way to finish. So Abhishek, I would just say look for novels that interest you. If you're reading novels, Abhishek, that are made for or written for an adult audience, like the biography of Steve Jobs, for example, then you're basically reading materials that are going to be the same level of difficulty as the actual IELTS exam. Okay, so yeah, you want to definitely challenge yourself. So Abhishek, this is for you, okay? You should find a book that is written for an adult audience. For example, the biography of Steve Jobs, okay, and read this material while you prepare for IELTS. Okay, make sure it's something that interests you. Okay, that's what's important. All right, let's see. Oh, it says in the reading test, I should take the passages reading in order, even if passage 1 is the hardest, or choose the simplest, then move to others. Ois, yeah, great question. You don't have to read them in order, okay? So you do not necessarily need to read the writing passages in order. Okay, in fact, Ois, if you are more familiar with a topic, for example, passage 2, then you should start with that. So let's say that you have some reading passages, part 2 reading passage, or sorry, passage 2. Let's say passage 2 is about the electric guitar, and you play the electric guitar. It's something that you do. It's one of your hobbies, and you've obviously learned a lot of English around the electric guitar. You know the history of the electric guitar. Start with that passage. Of course, it will give you momentum. So no, you don't need to start with passage 1. Usually passage 1 is the easiest, but you might find one of the topics is much more close to home, okay? So start with the topic that is closest to home. That's the expression in English. Okay, it means closest to your own knowledge. If none of them are, okay, if they are all unfamiliar, then go in order, okay? Like 1, 2, 3. Okay? That makes the most sense. All right, but that's a good question, Ois. No, you don't need to. Okay? All right. Nancy, sir, let me know how I can improve my speaking, which is up to the mark. Well, Nancy, I mean, what do you mean by up to the mark? Band 7, 8, or 9? I'm not sure. But again, practice is key and feedback is key, Nancy. Okay? Up to the mark is quite subjective. Okay? Lubna says, I think doing it in order is good and avoids confusion and wrong numbering. Definitely pay attention to question numbers, of course. Don't make mistakes there. But again, Lubna, you don't have to do them in order if there is a topic that you feel much more comfortable with. And that happens sometimes. So sometimes students get lucky, and one of the 3 passages is the same as their university major. Okay? All right. Okay, everyone, I'll stop there. It looks like I've answered most of your questions for the day. Again, remember those resources that I showed you on our websites, the forums, the blogs. Definitely use rapid typing. You're basically writing, reading, improving your typing in English. Make sure you're using English keyboard settings when you're doing that, okay? You can order stickers for your keyboard so that you have the English keyboard. It's very important, all right? Or just buy another keyboard that's an American or English keyboard, okay? Rapid typing, highly recommend it. Brilliant, brilliant way to improve quickly and pick up some useful skills. Coming up very soon, everyone, in 40 minutes, we'll do one more class for this week. That will be speaking part 3, examples and practice, continuing from that part 2 topic that we looked at yesterday. Thank you, Yarabisha, for the safety wishes. I wish you the same. You're very welcome, Nick Hill. Good participation, Lubna Jainil. Abhishek, always fantastic to have you in class. Honey, grammar software is Grammarly that you should use when you're writing. The free version is great. Okay, Grammarly. All right, everyone. That's it for now. I'll be back shortly. Hopefully, I'll see you in 40 minutes for some speaking. I'm Adrian, signing out from Budapest for now. Bye.